In 1975, Tom Jones was earning $100,000 a week in Vegas. By October, he could not finish even one song. The booing began during Darlin' and did not stop. Security pulled him off the stage in the middle of the show while the crowd cheered like they had won a prize. For 6 months after that night, he vanished completely. He smoked one cigarette after another in his big house, watched the video of that night over and over, and told his manager it felt like everything was over. But what really caused it was not just that one bad night. It was about sleeping with 250 women a year, having a special room for fans who wanted to meet him, and the moment his wife found out the truth and beat him until he was bleeding. Tom Jones was born Thomas John Woodward on June 7, 1940 in Pontypridd, Wales. And from the start, life was tough for him in every way. He grew up at 57 Kingsland Terrace, a small house right in the middle of the coal fields in the Rhondda Valley where the air always smelled of dust and smoke. His dad worked hard 12-hour shifts deep underground, coming home tired and hardly making enough money to buy food. Inside the house, there was not much space. Young Tommy shared a bed with his brothers and sisters, wore old clothes passed down from others, and heard cold dust fall from his dad's clothes onto the floor. Money was always low, and being comfortable was something other families had, not his. Then in 1952, when Tommy was only 12, everything stopped. Doctors saw a dark spot on his left lung and said he had tuberculosis at a time when that sickness scared everyone in Britain. The fear in the house was thick. But his sickness was not the kind that spreads. So instead of sending him away, they kept him locked in his bedroom at home. For 2 whole years from 1952 to 1954, his world was just that one room. No school, no playing outside, no walking down the street. The windows stayed open for fresh air even in cold winter, and he kept warm with blankets and a small fire. While other boys ran around outside, he watched life go by from behind the window glass. Those years were lonely, but they changed him in quiet ways. During the first year, doctors told him not to sing, which felt mean for a boy who already loved music. Still, he found other ways to enjoy it. He listened for hours to BBC radio late at night, taking in American blues and R&B singers like Big Bill Broonzy. Those sounds went deep inside him. His mom bought a TV in 1952, one of the first in the area, and it became another way to see music and shows. When he was not listening, he drew pictures. He used India ink to paint. He drew the view from his window and dreamed of being on stage. By the time he could sing again, his voice was different. The sickness had made it deeper, rougher, and turned it into the strong, low voice people would know right away later. He later called it a weird gift, a power that came from being weak. Lying there night after night, he made a quiet promise to himself that once he could walk to the lamp post outside again, he would never complain. School never felt right for him. Reading was tough. Writing seemed impossible. Teachers called him lazy, not knowing he had dyslexia, something they did not understand well until he was in his early teens. By then, the harm was done. He had given up on school in his mind. Music was the only thing that felt good. He sang church songs at Wood Road Infant School, sang at family parties, and felt confident doing that. Sports did not interest him, but making people laugh by copying Elvis Presley's hip moves did. Those little moments of attention gave him something school never gave, a feeling that he was good at one thing. By 14, he was already going into local pubs around Pontypridd, standing in dark corners and singing Hank Williams songs for tips. It was dangerous and sometimes scary, but it gave him some money and a bit of freedom. One Christmas, he made more money singing by himself than groups of kids did singing Christmas songs together. The pubs were full of minors and tough people, and they taught him how to keep a crowd interested. At 16, he quit school for good and took any job he could get. He carried bricks as a builder's helper, went door to door selling vacuum cleaners, and did whatever paid. His first real weekly pay was $2 in 1955, hardly enough to live. At night, he still sang. That mix of being tired and having hope became normal for him. Around the same time, life made him grow up even quicker. He met Melinda Trenchard when they were both 12, and by 16, she was pregnant. They got married on March 2, 1957, at the Pontypridd Registry Office in a simple, quiet wedding that fit their young age and situation. 5 months later, on April 11, 1957, their son Mark was born. Tom was only 17. Linda was just 16. All of a sudden, he was a husband and dad with no backup plan. To feed his family, he got a job sticking belts together at a rubber factory in Treforest, working long 12H hour shifts in hot, bad air. He came home worn out, then went out again to sing at night. Workers like him made between $2 and $3 a week, and it was never enough. He slept only a few hours, driven by duty and worry. His health got worse, but stopping was not possible. In 1958, he started his first band, Tommy Scott and the Senators, and played rockabilly cover songs in smoky clubs across Wales. They got known locally, but being far from London made it hard to grow. Then in 1960, a bad car crash put him in bed for months to heal. With no job and growing bills, he felt depressed. People did not talk about mental health then, so he dealt with it alone, depending a lot on Linda. When he got better, something in him got stronger. He knew factory work could never be his life. Linda stayed with him through everything. She made his stage outfits from old fabric and kept the family going. As he got more confident, women paid more attention to him and trouble started in their marriage early. He admitted even then that he had a hard time saying no to temptation, and Linda decided to stay, believing in him and keeping their family safe. Everything changed in 1963. Tom, still called Tommy Woodward, was singing with his band at a youth club in Pontypridd when Gordon Mills came in. Mills was a former boxer trying to get into music, and the second he heard Tommy sing, he was amazed. He decided right there to be his manager. He changed the band's name, borrowed an old van, and took Tommy to London, promising a future bigger than the mines he left. On January 1, 1964, Mills got him a Decca record deal. The song Chills and Fever impressed the bosses but did not do well on the charts. Some thought his style was too strong, too sexy, too much. Mills kept going. He renamed Tommy to Tom Jones from a popular movie and made his look a sharp-dressed performer. Then on November 11, 1964, it all worked. Tom recorded It's Not Unusual in a quick session after another singer said no. Near the end, he added a fun woo on his own that changed the whole feel. Pirate radio stations played it a lot. Decca made more copies. In early 1965, it reached #1 in the UK. Tom Jones did not become famous slowly in the 1960s. He burst in like a door slamming open and people hardly had time to react. It started with It's Not Unusual. In January 1965, it went to #1 in the UK, and by March, it reached #10 on the US Billboard chart. In just months, it sold over 1 million copies around the world, and the quick success made everyone rush. Decca had to make extra records fast because orders came flooding in from Europe and North America. And suddenly, this shy Welsh singer was not shy anymore. He was exciting trouble because fans wanted more than planned, so the attention got even stronger. In April 1965, he appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show and 28 million Americans saw him. For many, it was the first time seeing his hip moves and crazy stage energy. Some older viewers were shocked, others loved it. And that difference was important because British pop stars then seemed clean and calm, while Jones seemed like he was challenging everyone to match him. Within 6 months, his life turned upside down, and it set a new record for how fast a singer could go from local to worldwide. Then came the next surprise, and it was not small. In 1965, Burt Bacharach asked him personally to sing the theme for the Woody Allen movie, What's New Pussycat? It should have been easy. Instead, the recording at Abbey Road was messy with engineers having trouble because 5 pianos played at once and nothing matched normally. Bacharach liked that raw feel, so the chaos became the sound. The song reached #11 on the UK chart and it brought more fans in the US. Jones even got a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist in 1966. What made it odd is that Jones did not like the song at first. He thought it was too silly for his deep voice. Bacharach said no and told him it would be the song for Fun London. That worked. Critics compared Jones to Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra, and now he was big on both sides of the ocean, and once he had that, he went for something deeper. In 1966, his version of Green Green Grass of Home stayed at #1 in the UK for 7 weeks straight. It did more than win. It ruled. It sold more than twice as many as Porter Wagoner's original. And the story in the song touched people. A prisoner thinking his final thoughts before dying. Jones sang it with so much feeling that people cried and radio stations got calls asking if he was really in jail. By the end of 1966, he had sold over 3 million singles worldwide with Green Green Grass of Home almost half. It showed the music world that a sad story song could top pop charts in Britain and still feel normal. By 1967, the money and crazy life were waiting in Las Vegas. He was the main act at the Flamingo Hotel, making $25,000 a week, which was huge when most performers got less than $1,000. The crowds were not quiet. They were loud, excited, and often threw panties on stage so much that security took him out the back door after shows. Around then, he became good friends with Frank Sinatra, and Sinatra gave him advice that stayed with him. Own the stage like it belongs to you. Sinatra watched him and said, "That boy has the devil in him." That summer, Jones did 22 full shows at the Flamingo and broke records for a non-American singer. And the Vegas Tom Jones became its own big story. Then Delilah came and made it hotter. Released in November 1968, it got to #2 in the UK, and it was based on a real story about a man killing his girlfriend from jealousy. That was dark already, but the shocking moment came in December 1968 on BBC's Top of the Pops. During a live show, Jones broke a guitar on stage in what people called jealous anger after hearing about the real crime. It was not planned. It made newspapers talk a lot. Jones later said the story bothered him, and after that he sang it with feeling that seemed real. The single sold over 2 million copies worldwide and became one of his main songs, with the real murder story coming up in news while it was popular. By 1969, he was not just touring. He was on TV every week in homes. He started this as Tom Jones on ABC from London and got up to 20 million American watchers per show. Guests were big stars like Aretha Franklin, the Bee Gees, Janis Joplin, and Johnny Cash. His fame grew more. U.S. albums went platinum, and he got paid $9 million per season by Lou Grade. The show used his big charm, wild energy, dancers, and bright clothes. It lasted until 1971 and made him more than a hit singer. He was a full entertainer you could build a show around. And once he had that power, he tried to make a bigger business too. In 1970, Tom Jones and Gordon Mills started Mam Records, signing singers like Gilbert O'Sullivan. The biggest hit was still Tom's own She's a Lady, which reached #2 in the UK in 1971. Paul Anka wrote it after watching Jones in Vegas, from those sexy moves and how he held the crowd. Mam got known for brave choices and big ads. And for a while, it felt like Jones and Mills were running a whole company. Still, the same Vegas nights that made him famous also built his bad boy name, and people watched his private life as much as his songs. From 1972 to 1974, Vegas got bigger. He made $100,000 a week at Caesar's Palace, one of the top paid stars then. He partied with Elvis Presley, who gave him a special robe, and their late nights became famous stories. Poker, champagne, and talks at 3 a.m. when no one wanted to sleep. His shows were full of energy and sexy feel, with fans throwing underwear and even hotel keys on stage. He later said the life was addictive and pulled him in, and once it does, it is hard to think about anything else but the fun and work. By 1976, his music still worked, but his image was shifting. His song Say You'll Stay Until Tomorrow was his last US top 20 hit, getting to #15. Behind the stage, he got known for sleeping with up to 250 fans a year, often in a special room at shows. Newspapers printed the stories, tales of women backstage competing. The news hurt his marriage and kept gossip going, and Jones did not say sorry, saying he was living the rock star life even if it meant no privacy. Fans who saw him as cool started seeing him as too wild for the 1970s. By 1977, he tried something that seemed like a new start, but it cost him. He moved his family to Los Angeles into Dean Martin's old big house, said to cost $1 million, partly to avoid high UK taxes. He put in a home recording room, but home life did not get calm. Linda fought with him over his open cheating, and the most famous was with Miss World Marjorie Wallace. The relationship lasted 3 years and became big news, with people saying it was passionate and papers writing about fancy dates and bad endings. The move to LA was supposed to be new, but his private life stayed messy and his good family man look broke more. And then came the night that showed the break clearly. On October 27, 1975, he walked on stage at the Las Vegas Hilton in a shiny jumpsuit and sang a new slow song called Darlin' to over 2,000 fans. They did not want new stuff. Soon the crowd got mean. People booed. They yelled, "Go home, Tommy." Drinks flew at the stage. Security made a wall to get him off in the middle of the song, and he left sweaty and shocked while the crowd cheered loud like they wanted more. The anger was not just the song or clothes. Rumors were going around about his private life, including a special room for fans at shows, and those talks turned liking into hating. One woman even yelled about his Welsh cheating, mixing his home with the bad stuff like one big wrong. The shame hit so hard that he stopped all shows for 6 months. He stayed in his Los Angeles home, smoked a lot, watched the video of that night again and again, and told Gordon Mills it felt like the end of everything he made, and the real reason behind it was already growing. Newspapers in 1975 were talking openly about the backstage room and his always cheating, and fans heard it all. The worst scandal was still the Marjorie Wallace one. In December 1973, Marjorie was 19 and just won Miss World when she met Tom in his dressing room at the London Palladium. Their relationship went public after photos of them kissing on a beach in Barbados during a Miss World TV event in 1974, breaking her rules. She lost her title on March 7, 1974. Then the sad part made it worse because her boyfriend, American racer Peter Rivson, died in a crash that year, and papers linked it all into one big sad show. So when the Vegas crowd turned in 1975, it was not out of nowhere. It was payback time. After the booing, the 6-month break was more than rest. It was a big change. The shame mixed with the talk, and the talk mixed with the truth he hid for years about how many affairs there were. One bad moment after was Linda's anger when she learned about the Marjorie Wallace thing. She hit him so hard he bled and was shaken. And whatever nice picture he tried to keep, the fun singer, the charming star, the safe hero, it broke in real life too. In 1987, Tom Jones was at a place where people thought of him as old news instead of current. Then a song from a young guy changed it. The song got to #2 in the UK, and it meant a lot because he was 47 and needed to feel new again. It was for a Welsh TV show called Matador and written by Mike Leander and Eddie Seaman. Around then, his old manager Gordon Mills died in 1986, and Tom's son Mark took over managing. That help from Mark made the song a big moment, not just music. You could hear it in TV shows, including one big in Spain. His voice did not sound old and weak. It sounded older in a strong way, like it had been through stuff and still had fight. That song did not just give a chart spot. It gave him a new reason to keep singing, and it set up the next big move quietly. So when 1988 came, he did something that seemed wrong but worked. He worked with the Art of Noise on a loud electronic cover of Prince's Kiss. It was bold, weird, and brave, and that was why. The song reached #5 in the UK, then #1 in New Zealand and Spain, and suddenly Tom Jones was back and on MTV. The video played a lot and even won MTV Breakthrough Video Award. People liked how modern it looked with special effects that stood out. What surprised most was the difference. Here was a singer known for old soul power, now over electronic beats and still himself. It showed he could fit the time without trying too hard, and once that happened, more chances came. But that time also had a private problem that would not stay hidden. In October 1987, on a US tour, he had a short relationship with model Catherine Berkery. It led to a baby and turned into a court case over money for the child. In 1989, a DNA test showed he was the dad of Jonathan Berkery. But Tom said no to meeting him and denied it in public for years. Judge Judith Shaindlin ordered payments said to be $33,500 a year plus legal and school costs, and it became big news because it did not match his nice image. Even as he sang, the bad story stayed in the back and lasted long. He did put out the 1989 album Move Closer with dance songs and pop covers, and it kept the Kiss success going. Still, the scandal followed, and the story did not change until 2008 when he finally said it was true and called it a mark from his wild 1980s. Even then, he said he did not want to meet Jonathan, which made it feel colder. After all that, the next part was calmer, and in a way that was another new start. In 1991, he worked with Van Morrison on Carrying a Torch, doing jazz songs and slow ones with the main song written by Morrison. The sound was calmer, grown up, and reviewers liked the control in his singing. It did not sell huge, but it helped his name in a new way. Then on January 1, 1994, he put out the album The Lied and How to Swing It, his 33rd studio album, and went back to risky dance pop with big producers like Trevor Horn and Teddy Riley. If I Only Knew got to number 11 in the UK, and I Want to Get Back With You had Tori Amos. The album reached number 55 in UK albums, number 19 in Australia, and number 1 in Finland. Reviews were okay but mixed, but he showed he would not stay the same. That not staying same is what made 1999 big. On September 9, 1999, Reload came out and was his biggest selling album, going 6 times platinum in the UK and over 4 million worldwide. It had duets and strong feel and made him big in pop again. Sex Bomb with Mousse T got to number 3 in the UK, and Mama Told Me Not to Come with Stereophonics kept it going. 5 songs from Reload hit UK Top 40, the kind of success that makes young people see you new. That year, on December 31, 1999, he got an OBE for music. And then on March 29, 2006, at 65, Queen Elizabeth II Knight ed him at Buckingham Palace and he became Sir Tom Jones. He even sang Delilah for the royal family around then. While newspapers still talked about his old Playboy ways, the honors did not wipe the stories. They just added to his story anyway. Then the late years became odd because it mixed nice feelings with just keeping on. In 2002, he had a bad health scare with fast lung cancer tied to years of heavy smoking, and doctors saw it spread to his liver and spine. He had treatment and rested his voice and kept going. In 2010, he put out Praise and Blame, a gospel-style album that went back to his church singing days, and at 70 he still found new ways for his voice. 2 years later, in 2012, at 72, he became a coach on The Voice UK and fans loved him fast. The show got almost 10 million watchers at best, and his kind mentor way made him feel close, not far away legend. Under all that, his personal life had its long tail. He married his childhood girlfriend, Linda Trenchard, in 1957 when they were 16 and 17, and the marriage lasted 59 years until Linda died from leukemia in 2016 at 75. Their only child, Mark, was born in 1957, and Mark became key in Tom's work after 1986. Linda stayed through the mess, and one thing she said has stayed known: "I knew, but he came home." Mark and Tom had their own fights, especially when Mark heard more about the cheating, including the Miss World Marjorie Wallace in 1973 and claims with Mary Wilson. That hurt led to family counseling and later making up, and Mark became the one planning Vegas shows and guiding later work. Some old tales still sound like movie scenes. There was the story that Tom had a secret 2-year relationship with Mary Wilson starting in 1968, and it became big news in 1974 with tales of hotel elevators in Vegas and a fight in Bournemouth where Linda broke a hotel mirror and said strong words no one forgets. There was the Marjorie Wallace mess too, with pictures at Caesar's Palace and a London party fight where Linda supposedly hit Tom and yelled, "You've ruined us." And Tom later said, "I stood there and took it." Then there is the 1978 story from Cassandra Peterson, later Elvira, who said she was 17 when she was taken to his dressing room in Las Vegas and needed stitches after while he was 38. Those tales feel heavy because they make the nice charm seem fake and hard to split from his famous image. After Linda died in 2016, the fancy life got smaller too. Tom sold their $6.5 million Los Angeles house because the memories hurt too much and moved to a flat in London that Linda wanted in her last years. He talked about speaking to her pictures and repeated what she told him before dying: "Keep performing, don't be sad alone." Even his body showed the years. In 2022, he fell on stage from being too tired, a moment that felt like sadness becoming real. And by 2025, at 85, the story feels calm again. He lives a quiet, half-hidden life in London, helps young singers on Zoom, and in a BBC interview he said, "Fame's price was losing pieces of myself." He still sings because that is the promise he keeps going back to.